Hey, it's Mac. Welcome back. Episode 3 of Icebreaker. Icebreaker episode 3 is presented by Cunningham Business Interiors. When it comes to helping you work better from work, Cunningham fits. Cunningham Business Interiors are your office furnishing experts. So check them out at cunningham.mb.ca and let them set you up with a new office. So excited for episode 3. We got a great show for you today, but we'll get into a couple things first before we bring in our guest. Let's start off by just saying Dana White just rolls on. Dana White makes things happen. COVID hits, Dana White continues the UFC, whether it's fight nights with no fans. The guy just bought an island, the UFC Fight Island. And I don't know if you've seen pictures or video of that island, but it looks unbelievable. There's a golf course, water park, like everything you need. An event center, obviously, for the fighting, but like the guy just rolls on. It's incredible. And over the COVID period, UFC has been putting on fight nights, couple pay-per-view, but largely free to watch on TSN. And I'll tell you firsthand, I wasn't a UFC fan. Didn't have time to watch it, never watched it. And then when this hit and UFC was the only live sporting on, I tuned in on TSN and kind of, became a fan of watching a little bit. One, because it was free, and two, because it was live sports. So they got me hooked. And this weekend was another great weekend of UFC Fight Night on TSN, which was for free. And the first 3 fights on the card were first-minute knockouts, like fascinating, like unbelievable action. It was like tons of fun to watch. So kudos to Dana White for, I bet you he's drawn a lot of fans over this period by powering through and making it free and accessible for people to watch. And then, of course, the main event on Saturday night went 5 rounds, unanimous decision. Like it was a great fight. And the best thing about the UFC, 2 best things about the UFC. Bruce Buffer, number 1. That man is electric. He wasn't there this weekend. But when he announces fighters and what's happening, when he announces the referee, it's electric. Like, this guy knows how to amp up a crowd. And when the UFC does return to crowds, I mean, there's no better show in a live production. Like it's actually incredible. But Bruce Buffer makes the show. That guy, like he can introduce a paper bag and it would be unbelievable. So love Bruce Buffer. Shout out to Bruce Buffer. The second thing that makes the UFC unbelievable is how their announcers at the end of the fights let the winners of the fight call out who they want next. And Dana White's sitting right there and he just smiles and laughs. But lots of those fights end up happening. So I think that's awesome. Then the person they call out starts tweeting anytime, any place, you name it. I mean, it's awesome. There's interaction between the fighters, but the fans get involved. I think it's phenomenal. So what they have there, they definitely drew me in, and I'm a fan now. I think their whole system is pretty rock solid. So excited for the next fight night, whenever it may be, and who knows, maybe I'll just pay for a pay-per-view. Another thing that happened this week is NHL players getting back on the ice and in the training facilities in small groups. Tons of teams tweeting out that, their players are back and welcome back to whoever. So that's awesome to see. And just one step closer to, returning to live hockey, which I'm sure we're all excited for. I know I am. And I'd like to say from firsthand experience, when you're off the ice for 3 months, I think it was, and no matter how hard you're training and working out away from the rink, when you get back on the ice, it's a whole new animal to get used to again. And I know probably tons of these players have never spent 3 months away from the ice when they're healthy. When an injury that happens, and that's part of the rehabilitation process. But when you're healthy and you got to be away from the rink, I'm sure it was gut-wrenching. So happy for them to be back, but that time has got to come back in the hands. And throughout my whole career, my hands never came back, so that's fine. But for them, hopefully it comes quick. And when the puck drops for the best of 5s and the round robins, can't wait to see it. So that's another big step in the right direction for the NHL, and really exciting stuff. The PGA Tour is back, live golf at last this weekend. The Charles Schwab Challenge was no short of drama. So it was a little bit different to see no fans there. The players, they said it themselves. There's a couple holes where people made grandstands outside the golf course, and there's little cheers here and there for the guys, and they were waving, and I would wave too. Even if there's no fans, you sink a good putt or make a good shot, I would wave too. Just to, stay as normal as you can. And for those guys, I would be waving and having fans there. But let's skip ahead here to Sunday, and then we didn't get to see the Sunday Red because Tiger wasn't in the tournament, but soon enough, I hope, and see him back competing and challenging. But the tournament was stacked, like no shortage of great players, and there was some great golf out there. A little bit of rust on Thursday, but by Sunday they were dialed in, and the leaders down to the wire. 2-man playoff for the title. Just before that, though, Xander Schauffele missed a 20-foot birdie putt, so a lengthy putt, but he left it about an inch short, and it would have been a 3-man playoff. So right there, the drama started. But then it was a 2-man playoff between Colin Morikawa and Daniel Berger. Berger ended up winning, and he sunk a short par putt to get in the first playoff hole at par, and Morikawa had a 4-footer for par. And as a golfer myself, the 4-footers are the death of me. So, I'm watching him line it up, and he stepped off the putt, and then he went back and looked at it again, and then he stood over it, and he putted it, and he lipped out from 4 feet. And the look on his face was just like, are you joking? And I felt for him. I felt terrible for him. I haven't been in a PGA Tour event, and I never will be. But when I'm standing over a 4-foot putt, I expect myself to make it. And 50% of the time, I don't. And it is the worst feeling in the world. A short little putt like that, and you miss it. You miss it to the left or to the right. So feel terrible for Morikawa. And but he's a great golfer. He's 23 years old, and he's an unbelievable talent and phenomenal to watch. So excited for next weekend, another live PGA Tour event. So don't forget to follow and subscribe to our YouTube page at Icebreaker Show. Appreciate it. And if you like it, tell your friends, as well as on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Tell your friends. Would love to them to get a listen. And then, of course, follow us on on our social channels at Icebreaker Show with 2 W's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and let us know what you think of the show. Who would you like to see as a guest next? What kind of things you want us to talk about? Interested and open to all your feedback, and we really appreciate it. I think you're going to enjoy today's guest, hometown Winnipeg kid, not a kid anymore, but one of the best people you'll ever meet within the game of hockey. Too many good things to say about him to list them off. He grew up through the Winnipeg Minor Hockey system and moved on. He played for the Winnipeg Blues in the MJHL, and then went on and have a 4-year college career, and then was, interestingly enough, the last ever draft pick of the Atlanta Thrashers. So, and then became the captain of the Manitoba Moose. And I'm sure that might have been a lifelong dream, as all of us in that era grew up watching the Moose because the Jets weren't here yet, and we loved it, every second of it. So without further ado, really excited to be joined here today with the former captain and recently retired Peter Stoykewych. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Good. Doing well, man. Retirement's good.
Obviously, being a Winnipeg kid and getting a chance to play for the Moose, that must have been pretty special.
Yeah, pretty cool. Can't believe I actually played there for that long. It's kind of crazy. 6 years there goes by pretty fast when you're playing hockey. So, yeah, it was a good run, honestly. Went way longer than I thought I would. And, not a lot of people get to play pro hockey at home, so that was pretty special too.
Yeah, I can imagine. If we throw it back there, so you're picked by Atlanta in 2010, 199th overall, and they're the Atlanta Thrashers. And then, like a year later, the Atlanta Thrashers are sold to Winnipeg, and you still play 4 years of college hockey, and then after that, the Moose are in St. John's still, and you suit up there. But in that summer, they're announced that the Moose are coming back to Winnipeg. What does that feel like? How did you react with that?
Yeah, no, it kind of was pretty fortunate, I guess. 199th. I don't know if you know, but Tom Brady went 199th too. With similar careers. No, I mean, like, it was pretty cool. Had to convince Chipper to buy another team and get me here, you know. But also, no, it honestly couldn't have worked out better. I was the last pick ever of Atlanta, and then they moved here that summer. And then when I turned pro, wasn't really the NHL type, I guess. Knew I was going to be an AHL guy, but St. John's was really cool. Being out there a couple months might have been enough for me. So it's a wild place. Everybody's got to visit there at least one point. But it just honestly was luck more than anything, and just tried to take advantage of that luck.
You brought it up, so tell me a little bit about George Street.
Yeah, honestly, like, you hear about George Street when you don't play pro hockey even, right? Like, it's there's a lot to it there. And obviously when you come into town, like, the Ice Caps are kind of the big dogs in St. John's there. The people support them really well, and it's really cool. The place is packed all the time, and you're like I said, kind of the big wigs in town. So when you're surrounded by some of the guys that were on that team, and I won't even name names, but guys would be walking to the game down George Street, and all the bar owners would be like, yeah, first 5 rounds are on me here, and after the game. So you just kind of go from place to place after the game, and all the road teams would be asking where to go on the ice, and I was the new kid in town, so I had no idea. But it was a pretty neat place where everybody cared about you. So cool spot to play and start my pro career.
Yeah, I can imagine the road teams probably were pretty fond of visiting St. John's for a couple nights. Based on what I hear about it.
Always had a good home record for some reason. Can't put my finger on it, but yeah, it was good.
Gotta ask you, so when you found out that you're going to be the captain of the Moose, how'd that go over, and what would that feel like?
Yeah, that was kind of that was cool. That was one of the I knew, I guess, Pazzy called me into his office that day and asked who I thought should be captain, and obviously Corms left the year before. He was one of my best friends on the team, and did everything with him, and we were actually roommates on the road there for 2 years before he left. And Pazzy called me into his office and asked me who I thought should be captain. Named a few guys, talked about a few guys, and he just said, well, it's going to be you. So still remember that conversation like it was yesterday, and I knew, I think, 24 hours before the rest of the guys knew. So hard to keep my mouth shut, hard not to tell anyone. I was living at home at the time, actually, so didn't even tell my parents, I don't think. So it was cool. It was all my friends, even now, like, I go golfing with my friends and some of their friends who I'm just meeting for the first time, and it's surreal to them that they're playing with the captain of the Moose, you know what I mean? But to me, it doesn't even like register. Yeah. It's like, where is he? Like, like, who is he? Like, I still don't see myself as the captain of the Moose, and it's like, I'm sure when I look back on it, I'll not appreciate it more, because I appreciated it every second I was there, and being able to do it. But I just kind of tried to do me. I didn't try to be anyone else or do anything different, and felt like I kind of fell into the role because of what I did, and didn't really want to alter that just because I was wearing the C. But obviously, being from Winnipeg, it's just cool to do those kind of things, and just be around town and throw your jersey on at community events, and you're wearing the C, and it's just like kind of a reality check, and keeps you humble, makes you make the right decision all the time wherever you go. Keep it between the lines, and it's cool. It's pretty humbling too, because obviously, like, Keener is a captain, know Keener really well, amazing guy. Like, Corms is a great dude. Johnny Albert, who was before Corms, played with him too, like, great guy. And just want to kind of be put, when people talk about my couple of years there, I hope they say the same thing.
And I'm sure they will. A lot of good players that wore the C there for the Moose, and couldn't help but notice on social media a couple pictures circulating around of you when you're 10 years old for the Junior Moose, also the captain.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who made that decision. Someone was obviously drunk or something that day. But yeah, no, that, like, I mean, yeah, it just kind of fortunate, you know. Every team I played on, guys just kind of, I don't know. I never at any point felt like I needed to do anything or be anyone, anything like that. And guys just kind of, I guess, respected what I did. And I think that's kind of the highest compliment you can get. And it's kind of the captain of most of the teams I played on. And I think I guess I credit a lot of that to the people that I learned from on the way, and even the people that I got to play with. You know what I mean? Like, even people that didn't wear letters doesn't mean they weren't great leaders or great people or great players. You know, like on that Moose team, we had some unbelievable players who's like, you know. But I mean, like, yeah, like Stoner was on that team, Mac was on that team, Cal Pickard was on that team. You know, Jordy DePape, like Mace was on that team. Like, it was an insane team. Like, a lot of guys still play and, you know, do different things. So, I mean, it was just us all hanging out kind of thing. And whether you wore the C or not, it didn't really matter, you know, because everyone could pull their weight kind of thing. So didn't have to do much work on most of the teams I played on, honestly.
Didn't hear my name on that list for any reason about that?
I did. I had named you right off the hop.
Okay, good. Carry on, guys.
That was the biggest problem I ever dealt with wearing a Moose jersey. Was it's Heisiger.
I heard he was a subpar center back in the day.
Actually, you know what? He was unbelievable at draws. That is one thing he was good at. Didn't bring a lot to the table, but boy, could the guy win a draw.
Just about Colorado College there for a sec. 4 years in the NCAA Division I. Must have been a pretty good experience.
Yeah, honestly, like, looking back on my whole career kind of recently, what happens on the ice is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's a great game. Won some big games, scored some big goals, that kind of thing. But, like, it's all about, like, the people you meet. And to me, college was kind of where I grew up and learned to be, you know, a man. And it was the first time I was on my own, like 100%. And you got to, like, cook, clean, eat, do everything by yourself. And obviously with college comes a lot of fun too. You know, you got to enjoy it too. So that was, I mean, every kind of aspect of my career was different, from like minor hockey to junior hockey to college and pro. Like, they were all so different in so many different, like, facets. But college was just nuts. Like, again, went by way too fast. Still talk to those guys all the time, like every day kind of thing. And yeah, wouldn't have traded it for the world. Wouldn't have done anything differently.
What was your college? Otherwise, what goal do you remember the most?
So, like, we played my second year there, my sophomore season. We made the final. We beat Denver in the first round of playoffs, who was our biggest rival. So we beat Denver to go to the Final Five. And in the Final Five that year was North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, us, and Alaska. So was Alaska there? I don't know. Either way, Alaska's irrelevant. Beat so the first game, North Dakota had won our conference the last 3 years, and we got to overtime against them, and I scored in overtime in front of 20,000 North Dakota fans in the XL Center in Minnesota there. And actually, sweet story from there was I scored an OT, in that whole, like, North Dakota's close, Wisconsin's close, Minnesota's close, because the whole tournament's held in St. Paul there in the Wild building. So the first night it was 20,000 North Dakota fans, beat them, silenced the crowd kind of thing. Second night was, we played Minnesota, who was one in the nation. They had, like, Nick Bukestad on that team. They had Nate Schmidt on that team. They had like an insane team. They were so good. They had Howla on that team. They were number one in the nation. Beat them, and that night it was 20,000 Gopher fans.
Yeah.
So we ended up going to the final against Wisconsin, and we were heading down the elevator to the game, me and my roommate, and there were a couple fans in the elevator wearing CC jerseys, and we were like, oh geez, like not a lot of CC fans, like we're far from Colorado kind of thing. So we're just like, oh, like stopped and thanked them, and we were like, hey, thanks for coming, that kind of thing. And they all started laughing, and we're like, what's going on? And they're like, we're Minnesota and North Dakota fans, but we just hate Wisconsin more than we hate you. So so they ended up buying the jerseys to cheer for us, because that final game where it was 20,000 Wisconsin fans. So we were definitely the underdog in the road team in all 3 games, but it was pretty cool to be in the elevator with people that were buying our jerseys just because we knocked off their teams a couple nights before.
Some fair weather fans, you gotta love that.
Yeah, I know, really stand up for the boys, eh?
So listen, I put on social here that you're coming onto the show, and a couple people sent in some questions. I got 3 for you that I chose.
Sure.
The first one was, why number 42 for the Moose?
42. That one, that one's not much to it. We have to stay under 50. It's 50 or below for the Moose. So when I came in, I forget what numbers were taken, but there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. Most of the ones that were available were single digits, and seeing my last name on a jersey, it looks pretty funny if I have a skinny number. So I honestly went for the biggest, widest number I can find, and that was 42. So that's how I got 42. That's why I picked 42.
That's funny. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh, that's what they gave him or whatever. But now that you say that with your last name on the back, makes total sense. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's like, because I was thinking you gotta, especially I came out of college, and I mean, the guys in pro are just bigger in general, you know. And I was like, if I wear a skinny, like a single digit, not only is my name way too long for the number, but like you don't look as big up there. I was like, I got to get my rep up here quick, so find the fattest number I could, and like 42 is it. So couldn't get to 55, but 55 is probably the biggest number you can get. So went to 42.
That would have been it. No, that's funny. I like that. Another one said, are you looking to stay in pro hockey in any capacity, whether coaching or otherwise?
I mean, Paul Maurice wants to give me his job, I'd be happy to take it. But it's got, honestly, like the game, there are just too many good people and not enough spots, you know? Like there's so many good hockey players out there that people have never heard of, just because, not because they're any worse than anyone else. It's because they didn't get an opportunity. They didn't, you know, like there just aren't enough jobs for how many good candidates there are for it. And I feel like the other side of pro hockey is no different. And would I love to do it? Like, absolutely. I'd take an opportunity in a second. Just got to go looking for those opportunities, you know, and most teams, there isn't a whole bunch of turnover every year, and there just isn't a ton of opportunity out there. So if there was opportunity, I'd love to do it, but I also understand that, you know, there might not be that opportunity, especially right off the bat. So if there was, I'd love to, but never know what's going to go on, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. Understand that. Who knows what comes along the way? And our final question here is, after another disappointing quarterfinal exit in fantasy football playoffs, what kind of adjustments are you looking to make for next season?
I think every year I trade all my best players. So just going to continue to do that and continue to keep a revolving door. Nobody's safe on my squad. Keep that message going through the team, and hopefully they'll hunker down. I'm a playoff guy, you know, so I'll keep my job as manager. Obviously, they can't get rid of me for that, but yeah, you know, it's more the players screwing up than me, in my opinion. But one man's opinion.
I heard that you get rid of all your best players for no one. Is that true?
No, that is not true at all. In fact, I usually have a good haul, and then they happen to get hurt. So, yeah, again, it's more players being soft, not pulling their weight once they're on the squad.
It's terrible when you can't control those things. I understand that.
Yeah.
Hey, well, listen, Stoy, I appreciate you joining us here today, and Congrats on a great career, and good luck in the future.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.